Okay, let's take a look at some of the rules and considerations for gestural drawing. Now that you're aware of some of the different types of gesture, let's go over all the rules that you need to remember. And essentially, those rules are: time your gesture drawings, focus, draw quickly, draw lightly, constant movement, and no erasing. Time your gesture drawings. This is really important. You always want to use a timer if at all possible. And note that most line and mass gestures range from around 10 to 30 seconds. Sustained gestures, about 3 to 5 minutes. You always want to write the amount of time that you used on the gestural sketch. If using a single object in your image, something that you're drawing that's just one object, you want to use about 10 to 30 seconds. If you're using groupings of objects, then it could be longer, 30 to a minute and a half or so. It's a challenge in the beginning, but with practice, you'll really be able to get a very good likeliness very, very quickly. There are several figure sites that I suggest that have poses for gestural study which automatically change at 1 minute intervals, so you don't have to keep track of your timer. And I really recommend those. Just look online for gestural poses and the sites will usually come up on there. You want to focus and make a plan. I always suggest that you quickly scan the subject before you begin to draw. It's really paramount that you look constantly at your subject matter and not at your drawing. The eye, which is a wonderful camera and estimates proportions, contours, movements, angles, and makes those comparisons and contrasts really quickly. You need to learn to draw by viewing your object and not by drawing from memory. So try not to use your eye to remember stuff by. Try to use your eye to draw. If it helps, take your non-drawing hand and use your index finger and find the flow and direction of the form that you're drawing and trace it in the air and follow that with your other hand, your drawing hand, as it's drawing. So you actually are looking at what you're drawing, and the marks that you're making that are following it is happening with your hand that's drawing on your paper. Now, with the exception of mass and scribbles, some scribble gestures, artists often determine contour edges first and then interior shapes and shadows. That's not always true, but it's something to think about. You always want to draw as fast as possible. Your hand should be flying across the paper, and you're trying to trust that your hand is actually duplicating what your eye is seeing, and you have to kind of trust that. So keep moving. You also want to think about drawing lightly, and I like to think of my gestures as layers. My first layer I do sketching on there very lightly, and the second layer I start to get more committed lines and more constant, darker lines. And then my third layer, if I have time, I start to add value contrast and deep shadows and even more committed contours if I can. Remember constant movement. Quick, light drawing makes for easy clarification in succeeding layers. Move your eye with quick returns without moving your head. Remember, accuracy takes patience and perseverance and lots of practice. Keep your drawing tool in constant contact with the paper and move. You've got to go constantly. Never, ever erase a gesture drawing. Ever. If it helps, use ballpoint pen or markers, because erasing breaks your focus and it wastes time. Remember that the gesture drawing's purpose is to develop those visual skills like hand-eye coordination. So it's really important that you don't erase. And that's it. Good drawing, and I hope you practice every single day.